You never promised me anything. Not that sliver of your single mattress, not the space between your calves that my foot filled that first morning when I unbolted the door for you and you, still munted from that party, thanked me with a headlock that lasted till way past sunrise. And as we fell asleep under the rumble of 7 a.m. train tracks, I thought to myself, so this is what normal people do on Friday nights. If possession is 9/10 of the law, then you were mine that morning. Or was it the other way around? It was winter after all. The space between your arms was warm and this was cozier than central heating. And that was how I began the occupation of the space between your palm and your pillow, building barricades down your spine. Let's miss our lectures, never leave, just twist to fit wherever's warmest. See, if I was just another structure for you to smash, grab, and hold on to, hey, the crook of your elbow was a convenient place to get some sleep. We both know how addictive comfort can be. And I never said how long I'd stay for. You never quite gave me notice either. But I knew your breath on my neck as you whispered your anger to the dark, to other people's graffiti on the ceiling. And this isn't even your mattress. But we will lose it eventually. That one morning when I woke up before you to the yelling below our window, to the buzz of an angle grinder, and then you are tearing out the wires and I am saving our pet cactus, and somewhere above our heads, the theme tune from the A-Team's playing. And the door is off its hinges now and light is pouring in, and suddenly we are standing on the street with bags of our things, realizing it's the first hot day of the year, realizing it's already bloody spring. And I am waving goodbye to everyone, trying to forget everything, wiping my nose on my sleeve because now is not the time. There will be more spaces, more mattresses, more warm bodies. And this building is just another empty space filled with things we had no time to save. And maybe one day I will learn how to fit all my belongings onto a bike without looking back, realize the only permanent thing we have is ourselves, if even that. But for now, I will grab your arm and tell you that we will be okay. That perhaps we are all just squatters in our own bodies in the end, and you are still squatting your body and I am still squatting mine. Because I want to see your face change one last time as you roll your eyes and call me a bloody hippie. When the end of the world comes, you will be eating Hokkien mee. When the last panda dies from an overdose of Viagra in some zoo that he was sent to as some last-ditch attempt at peace-type goodwill gift from China, you will be counting how many pieces of sotong the stallholder gave you. When the oceans start overflowing and swallowing up small coastal cities, the death toll will not even reach the 6 p.m. news on the hawker center TVs. When all the fish have gone extinct and the chickens all dead from some flesh-eating version of the bird flu that also manages to wipe out 3 small countries in 2 months, it will be okay, because there will still be enough prawns left in the sea, and you don't need chicken to make Hokkien mee anyway. When the tidal waves start swallowing up large coastal cities like Sydney, LA, and Vancouver, there will still not be enough lard in your Hokkien mee. When the earth starts to crack open and swallows up Jakarta and Tokyo, you may notice the noodles on your plate trembling ever so slightly from the tremors. When buildings in Malaysia start to collapse from the tremors, tell yourself that they were all poorly built anyway. When a malaria epidemic hits Southeast Asia, remember to swallow your government-sponsored vaccine and thank God you live in a functional country. When the threat of nuclear war looks imminent, but probably won't make much of a difference at this point in history, just tell yourself that Hokkien mee noodles grow out of the ground in a farm somewhere in Kranji. when the oceans start encroaching that little bit more on the reclaimed land in Changi, Jurong Island, and the CBD. Remember that you were never promised that this country would be flood-free. When the first child dies in a flooded neighborhood on the ECP, be glad you live on the 20th story. When the first families are lost to a tsunami in Pasir Ris, you will be eating Hokkien mee. When Resorts World disappears underwater, you will be eating Hokkien mee. And it will be damn good Hokkien mee, so good you will want another, but you will never get another because the stall owner will be dead, and his wife will be dead, and their son, the only other person with a recipe in his head, will not remember it because he has left to open a dessert bar which only serves people who can say the words post-apocalyptic with a straight face. So go on, enjoy that plate of Hokkien mee, for it will be the last plate of Hokkien mee that you will ever taste, that will ever be tasted in this world, and be glad, be very glad that you are. Because when that tidal wave rears up to engulf this island and there is screaming and gnashing of teeth, and you finally look up to see that wall of water about to swallow all of Old Airport Road Hawker Center, the taste of prawn stock, lard, and MSG will be the only thing left to hold on to. She says, please don't grow up to be like me. And because I am the daughter she thinks is still a teenager, I always want to say sorry. It's too late. She says, please don't grow up to be like me. And because I am the daughter she thinks still listens to her, I always end up saying, don't worry. Because she keeps her ego shrink-wrapped in a box of combustible cat hair to allow room for mine to grow. She keeps her passion where her mind is, where she can't ever lose it, to justify anything her heart tells her to. Because at our house, there's always baby rabbits being born at 6 in the evening, 8 p.m. stray cat feeding, 11 p.m. post-nightmare trauma counseling, 1 a.m. last-minute algebra tutoring, 4 a.m. newborn kitten feeding, and of course at 6 in the morning, 3 children needing freshly squeezed orange juice. She taught me how to use my middle finger to its fullest potential. Monday rush hour 1995, late again for school. Step 1, make sure the asshole sees you. Step 2, slam on the accelerator so he can't get you. She was never one for holding anything in. Her tongue is a matchstick, and I am a tinderbox. She strikes once, and I combust. I hear her whisper and turn to jelly. I hear her shout and turn to stone. I feel her hand on my back and remember. I feel her hand on my back and turn human again. She tears me up from the inside and makes collages with what she finds, every rip so carefully done. She is the abstract artist with no time for explanations. She is the scientist with no use for reason. She could have been a microbiologist, but found a higher calling. Some say it had to do with catching small children falling, something about being arms or someone to run into each day after school, just because the world can't name it. Just because she never got paid for 25 years of it doesn't mean it had no value. Because not to call her life's work would be an insult. She is the mid-January bonfire, raging and warm, just the right mix of Christmas trees and kindling. Get too close and she will burn you, but it could feel so amazing. We talk about once a week now to make sure the other is alive and well enough to fight over what's left of me. But as we hiss and we snarl over what we think to be true, I forget every time that what I really should say is, damn it, I love you too. But because when she says, don't grow up to be like me, she means she gave it all up so you would have someone to come home to. When she says, don't grow up to be like me, she means she gave it all up so you wouldn't have to. So I don't plan on growing up to be like her, for she is unplanned, more like a glorious clash of knowledge and devotion, a mix of complex chemicals to create an explosion that can only be called magical. So I don't plan on growing up to be like her. I can only hope to become half as incredible. My grandfather used to complain whenever I brought storybooks to his house. He would say, "Stop wasting your time. Go write the stories yourself." My Kongkong's first job was a cub reporter. When there wasn't enough news, they'd get him to make it up. He's most proud of the ones that he wrote about this mysterious figure that they called the Oily Man, a half-man creature who allegedly ran amok in the streets, body covered in grease so no one could catch him. My Kongkong woke up in the 50s to British soldiers taking away his roommate at university for writing for a communist newspaper. Remembers how the lawyer they found to spring him then led a whole city out of an empire's grip, but not before taking notes from them just in case. But you could say that my grandfather made good in the end, got himself a flat screen, country club membership, 4 kids and a massage chair. Today he mostly watches the stock market on TV, escaping at night to ride buses around the city. But sometimes I think my grandfather is only pretending to be a regular guy, sitting in front of the TV blind in one eye. Maybe that is how he got the job with the newspaper. Maybe he set up cameras, shot pictures of himself running around the city, grease trickling down his back. Maybe he first kissed my grandmother like that. Upside down, dripping off the side of a building. I imagine him slipping out at midnight, running through darkened alleys with other oily mans, ripping clothes off washing lines, howling into the moonlight, throwing wild, greasy parties in abandoned car parks. Maybe this is what he really does at night. But this morning, my grandfather's hands are too shaky to put drops in his eyes. As I help him, he reminds me of one thing: to never ever feel sorry for him. Remember, he tells me, one day you too will end up like this. My Kongkong, he's lived long enough to understand that those who stay alive long enough will all come to the same end. The best of themselves distilled into stories for the grandchildren, part complaint and part fiction. How the stock market will always crash and rise again, and every time you leave your house, the city skyline will have changed again. But there will always be a side to you that your grandchildren will never understand. Like that puddle of oil at the foot of your massage chair, or how you slid right out of that soldier's hands.